Over the years, Han So-hee has made many headlines, but unfortunately, not all of them have been very positive. There's no denying she's a great actress, but the media also love to call her controversial, especially for the South Korean audience. This has everything to do with her troubled family and the way she was brought up. Although people might think So-hee came from money and was handed everything on a silver platter, that's actually the farthest from the truth. Before she made it big in the industry, she actually lived a very poor life. Her parents got divorced when she was younger, so when she was in her senior year of high school, she moved in with her grandmother. In order to make ends meet, she worked multiple part-time jobs. She was an employee at a toy store, a clothing store, and she even worked as a waitress. The last time she worked in customer service was when she worked at a pub. This is also when she decided to pursue modeling, and shortly after she got scouted by an agency, her grandmother always pushed her to follow her dreams, which is what gave her the courage to go down the path of acting. Elaborating on this, she once said, "My grandmother loves watching television. Her wish was to be able to see me on TV. Growing up next to her, she often told me about that wish. Gradually, I asked myself what it would be like if I were an actor." Her grandmother's wish came true. Because in 2017, So-hee debuted with a small role in Reunited Worlds. Then in 2020, she made it big with a lead role in The World of the Married. Ever since, she's become one of the most sought-after actresses in the industry. Even though her grandmother was her biggest fan, we can't say the same for her mother, who got her in a lot of trouble. Last year, So-hee was in the midst of a big scandal, all thanks to her mother. So-hee herself didn't actually do anything wrong, but word came out that her mother was in serious debt. On March 2nd, 2022, JTBC News reported that the mother of a celebrity was accused of having committed fraud. The fraud in question was about a sum of around 85 million won, which definitely isn't a small amount of money. According to the report, this person borrowed 85 million won from her acquaintance from February 2018 to September 2019. She had promised this acquaintance that she'd pay them back 2 million won a month, but the settlement was never finished properly. According to YouTuber Lee Jin-ho, this case was about So-hee's mother, and there was actually a lot more to the story. It turns out that her mother had created a bank account under her name without her permission and without her even knowing about it. She opened this account while she was still borrowing money, and the only way she managed to pull it off was because So-hee was still a minor at the time. So-hee's mother used this account for several months, especially during the time she didn't have access to her own account. On March 7th, 2022, So-hee's agency finally spoke up about the situation, and they revealed a lot more upsetting details about the case. The first thing they stated was that So-hee wouldn't take any responsibility for her mother's debt. They then explained the situation about the account under her name a little more. They said there was even a forgery of private documents. A series of such cases led to civil trials, but the court clearly drew a line that Han So-hee was not related. Her agency further shared that they couldn't cut off the relationship between So-hee and her mother. As a closing statement, they apologized for any unintentional damages this may have caused. It's pretty clear that So-hee's mother made her life harder than it should have been. This was already an issue back in 2020 when So-hee's reputation was tarnished for the same reasons. In a statement, So-hee shared that she had no idea her mother was in this much trouble because the two weren't in contact until after she turned 20. She explained that she paid off her mother's debt to the extent she could reach, but the amount had grown out of her control. So-hee confessed that her mother had put her name in debt documents without her knowledge and that the debt in question was larger than she could handle. Explaining her approach to the problem, she said, "I thought paying off the debt on behalf of her was the only solution. It was my immature judgment, and more victims seem to have suffered from that. It's no secret that this whole ordeal made her public image take a serious hit, but luckily there were still some netizens that could sympathize with her." When the news broke, many users on online communities voiced their opinions by shaming her mother for her reckless behavior. Majority could agree that it's such a shame that some parents take advantage of their children's status like this. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last time So-hee was embroiled in controversy. Although the previous case had very little to do with So-hee as a person, the situation didn't exactly paint her in a positive light. After she debuted, she became more well-known and starred in some of the biggest K-dramas. She gained lots of recognition for her roles in My Name, and became an international sensation after she featured in Jungkook's music video for Seven. This new wave of fame brought attention to her pre-debut photos, which have often been criticized by netizens for being too edgy. For those who aren't aware, So-hee used to have a completely different style before she set foot in the acting industry. Based on old pictures on her blog and on her Instagram Instagram, she was covered in tattoos and had a dark and bold clothing style. Not to mention that there's also a lot of pictures in which she's smoking. This completely goes against the clean-cut image that most actresses are expected to have for a successful career. It's important for them to look put together, to be polite, and to not engage in any controversial activities, so he's known to have been the exact opposite of this, and even now, she's more outspoken than the average actress. Keeping in mind the standards that actresses are held to, it's not surprising that So-hee was heavily under fire for her past looks, especially when she was first starting out. This has everything to do with the fact that smoking and tattoos are often perceived very negatively in Korean society. When these pictures first started circulating online, So-hee was starring in The World of the Married. This was one of her first bigger roles, so of course all eyes were on her. The comments she got were very hateful as netizens questioned how she could live, knowing those pictures are out there for everyone to see. Despite this hate train, So-hee wasn't fazed at all. She told the media that that was who she was before and that she's still her now. Her looks don't change who she is as a person, and she stands by that. So-hee's friend also spoke up about the hate she was receiving. She explained that the double standards in the industry are crazy, since it's okay for male actors to smoke and have tattoos, but when it's a woman, it's suddenly a big issue. So-hee admitted she isn't bothered by the criticism, since her female fans really seem to like her old image, and that makes her very happy. In August of this year, she once again gained attention for being bold on her Instagram. She posted a picture of her covered in fake tattoos, and surprisingly, fans were loving the fact that she wasn't afraid to show off her unconventional side anymore. Even though she has many fans that support her, haters still don't let her rest. Jungkook from BTS released his single 7 and asked So-hee to star with him in the music video. While many fans were extremely excited about this collaboration, a few hardcore stans didn't appreciate her involvement in the project. Right after the song dropped, So-hee received tons of malicious comments on her social media. The stans in question were Masali telling So-hee to leave Jungkook alone and that she wouldn't succeed in trying to get his attention. Considering the two are just colleagues, this behavior is actually ridiculous, but luckily the haters were slammed by the more rational fans. So-hee has spent the majority of this year preparing for her latest project, a thriller drama titled Gyeongsong Creature. The first part of the series premiered in December of this year, and as a result, So-hee has been the subject of even more criticism. Netizens claimed that her chemistry with Park Seo-joon just wasn't that great. She didn't only receive backlash for her acting, she also upset a few Japanese netizens with the post she made about the show. For a little context, the drama is set during World War II and covers a lot of sensitive topics that date back to that time period. Korea's independence movement is a big theme in the drama, which is why So-hee posted a picture of independence activist Ahn Jung-geun on her Instagram. Jung-geun is known to have taken the life of former Japanese Prime Minister Hirobumi Ito, which is why he isn't very loved by the Japanese. They took to the internet to voice their disappointment in So-hee, calling her anti-Japanese and all kinds of hateful things. In turn, Korean users showed massive support for her, saying, "Thank you for being a good influence, though I'm sure it would have been difficult to post about such an issue as an actor. I'm so proud of you." Actress or not, So-hee is still of Korean heritage and has every right to celebrate that, especially when keeping in mind the brutal history of the country. What are your thoughts on So-hee? Let us know in the comments and we'll talk to you soon.